Right now, on to the point. Crash aftermath. Nearly 24 hours after a medical helicopter went down on Highway 50, what we're learning about the flight's final moments and the concerns from neighbors who saw it happen.
Here at Sacramento Executive Airport, an aviation expert weighs in on the helicopter crash and how the pilot avoided an even worse outcome.
The government shutdown is in its 7th day and now impacting flights across the country. And 50 years of Dia de los Muertos in Sacramento, once misunderstood, now a celebration of art and remembrance.
Get off our street. What are you doing? They thought we were doing witchcraft.
Good evening. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. We are learning more about last night's medical helicopter crash on Highway 50 that left 3 people critically injured. But first, a closer look at the timeline and what led up to the crash. The flight starts in Redding a little after 5 p.m. The helicopter then heads south into the town of Red Bluff, where it lands on the helipad of St. Elizabeth Community Hospital. Around 5:50 p.m., it takes off again. At 6:36 p.m., the helicopter lands again at UC Davis. Here, a spokesperson for Sacramento Fire says the crew drops off a patient. The crew remains here for a little less than 30 minutes, then takes off again at 7:05 p.m. Whatever happens at this point happens quickly. This is where a driver on Highway 50 records it all on a phone. He pans away, then pans back. The helicopter hits the highway hard, approximately 30 seconds just after takeoff. Sacramento Fire says all 3 victims are now at UC Davis Medical Center receiving top-level trauma care. Today, the family of one of the victims, Susie Smith, sent ABC 10 a statement identifying her as the flight nurse involved in the crash. They say that she is in critical condition with multiple injuries, and those who know her, they know that Susie is a tough and strong woman. Meanwhile, we are also hearing from people who saw that helicopter moments before it crashed onto the highway.
Yesterday's was the loudest helicopter I've ever heard. It was actually, I was talking to my brother and it interrupted us. It was like, I'd never heard one that loud. It's kind of strange. You almost like feel it in the house.
The NTSB is now leading the investigation. And you'll notice in that video that we just showed you, there was no fire after the crash. This particular helicopter was equipped with something called a crash-resistant fuel system. ABC 10's Becca Hotbecker joins us in studio now. And Becca, you actually spoke with a local aviation expert about reaction to this crash. What did he have to say?
Alex, Tommy Ishii has decades of experience flying jets. After last night's crash, he got on the phone with fellow pilots, including helicopter pilots. He says they all agree the man piloting the helicopter that crashed last night did the right thing given these circumstances.
He only had mere seconds before that helicopter impacted the ground after lifting off from the helicopter pad.
Tommy Ishii is a Sacramento-based aviation expert with decades of experience piloting planes. I asked what he thought when he first saw this video.
It's been absolutely just astonishing seeing what the pilot did to get that helicopter in an area to minimize the collateral damage where he was flying from that helipad on the top of that hospital down to the freeway.
He says for emergency landings at night, pilots are trained to look for dark spots.
You don't want to shoot for anything that has lights, because what lights entail is cars, buildings, telephone poles, some structure, some sort of potential life. It appears from my vantage point that he might have been aiming for a cemetery that was across the freeway. There's no lights out in the cemetery, and found that he didn't have the energy to get to that point, and ultimately found the break in the traffic and put it down in such a way that nobody got hurt in the houses, nobody got hurt in their cars. The pilot, I think, and the crew did a fantastic job in that regard.
Also playing a role in all this, federal law requires all new helicopter models certified after April of 2020 to have crash-resistant fuel systems. That's a system intended to increase safety in the event of a survivable crash by either decreasing the likelihood of or delaying post-crash fires, according to the National Transportation Safety Board. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, this helicopter is an Airbus EC-130T2, manufactured and certified in 2021. And according to the NTSB, this type of helicopter has included crash-resistant fuel systems as standard equipment for more than 13 years now. Ishii says that hissing might be part of the system.
What we speculate, and my sources speculate that the hissing at the end was the fire retardant. We have a fire extinguishing capability in most all jet turbine powered aircraft. So that might have been the fire retardant extinguishing agent being let loose.
He says unanswered questions include the cause of the crash, of course, whether mechanical, pilot error, or something else, and how much fuel was on board at the time. He says he'll be watching to see what the reports from federal aviation and transportation safety experts have to say.
All right, Becca, thank you. Well, it is day 7 of the government shutdown after Senate lawmakers failed to advance 2 funding bills. The shutdown is impacting air travel across the country. Now, the FAA is warning of air traffic control shortages nationwide. Now, a dozen Federal Aviation Administration facilities across the U.S. saw staffing shortages last night as air traffic controllers call out sick. The Burbank Airport closed its air traffic control tower as it was left unmanned for hours last night. Controllers are considered essential workers, so they must work during the shutdown, but are not being paid.
We want to make sure we have air travel safe and controllers focused not on their mortgages, not on the next paycheck, not on food on the table, but actually on making sure you and your family are safe.
As for the Burbank Airport, air traffic controllers are back to work with full staffing, but concern looms for delays and cancellations at other airports across the country. Attorney General Pam Bondi was on Capitol Hill today. She appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee and was grilled on topics from the department's handling of the Epstein files and investigations targeting President Trump's perceived political enemies. Among those to grill the Attorney General was California Senator Adam Schiff, who was on the January 6th committee and has long been perceived as a political enemy of the president.
The department has become President Trump's personal sword and shield to go after his ever-growing list of political enemies.
Bondi has endured a series of controversies in recent months, including the ongoing pressure to release the government's full investigation related to Jeffrey Epstein. Today, she fired back at Democrats.
Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting that you refused repeated Republican requests to release the Epstein flight logs.
Bondi was also asked about allegations from Republican senators that as part of the January 6th investigation, the FBI improperly spied on them by obtaining phone records of GOP lawmakers. Bondi saying that she's looking into the matter. Still ahead on To the Point, 50 years of color, culture, and connection. How Sacramento's Dia de los Muertos grew from a small community vigil into a vibrant city celebration.
It was very warm today. Didn't feel much like fall at all, but I do have 70s returning, especially by the end of the week. We're in the low 70s with a chance of showers. I've got the forecast after the break.
But first, in other headlines tonight. Governor Gavin Newsom today signed a new law aimed at combating anti-Semitism at schools. It creates an Office of Civil Rights to work with districts on fighting discrimination and bias. Proponents say the law is needed to respond to harassment against Jewish students. Critics, however, say it could unintentionally stifle instruction and open dialogue in the classroom. National Guard troops from Texas arrived in Illinois today after they were mobilized by President Trump. Approximately 200 troops were part of the initial deployment, and more Texas soldiers could be brought in soon. The president is also threatening to use the Insurrection Act, which allows the president to send the military into states to quell public unrest or support law enforcement. And Tesla is rolling out cheaper versions of its most popular models. Today, the company unveiled the Model 3 standard and the Model Y standard, which will both be cheaper than the premium versions. Tesla says it's reducing costs because the government is eliminating a $7,500 tax credit for consumers buying electric vehicles. The new models range from $38,000 to $41,000 and will be available in December. Well, if you stepped outside, it probably felt a little warm today. Let's get things over to meteorologist Brendan Minchev with a look at our high temperatures, 90s?
Yeah, 90, not very October-like, but the good news is we're not going to see any more of these temperatures for the foreseeable future. Yeah, made it to 90 today in Sacramento, 92 in Stockton, 89 in Modesto. These temperatures about 5 to 10 degrees Warmer than normal for the time of year. Now in the mid 80s across much of the valley, but still hanging on to some 90s. Fairfield 90 degrees right now, Colusa 90 degrees, 87 in Sacramento and Stockton. Camera's fading out a little bit. Can't quite see downtown, but we will drop into the 70s as we go through the evening hours, and then 60s. And it'll be a cool start to tomorrow morning. 56 in Sacramento. So honestly, the overnight period going to be very similar to what we've seen the last few days. You'll want a light jacket if you're out early. 57 in Stockton, 59 in Modesto. Tomorrow afternoon, though, like I said, we're going into a cooling trend. No more 90s. I've got 79 in Sacramento, 83 in Stockton and Modesto, 76 in Vacaville and Fairfield. As the cool down begins, we're also going to have a stronger onshore flow. So areas in the Delta and close to the Delta will be coolest. Our next system starts to drop in off the coast Thursday and Friday. Going to bring some light showers north of I-80 and a chance for some flurries across places like Donner Summit. That'll be early on Saturday morning. Then that system moves out. The weekend looks good, and we're tracking a potentially stronger system at the start of next week. So Futurecast is pretty quiet the next few days. Just some clouds, nothing much else to report there. By Friday morning, we'll start to see some showers moving into the north coast, potentially an isolated thunderstorm or two. The valley will stay dry until we get in towards the evening hours Friday. Then that's when we'll have that chance for some lighter showers and some showers in the high country as well. Again, the potential is there for some flurries across the high passes early on Saturday morning. Talking about Monday morning now, lots to talk about in the weather world. There's still a lot of model disagreement. The European model shows a pretty decent system coming in during the early part of next week, while the American model, more of an inside slider, not quite as wet of a storm. So we're going to put possible storm chance there for Monday and Tuesday. Friday, though, is the next chance for some showers in the valley. Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Right after the break, from its humble beginnings to a vibrant community celebration, Sacramento's Dia de los Muertos turns 50, a half century of art, activism, and remembrance. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we are shining a light on people keeping traditions alive while breaking barriers. And this year marks the 50th anniversary of Sacramento's Dia de los Muertos celebration, and a new exhibit at the Sacramento History Museum highlights its roots with the Royal Chicano Air Force. ABC's Becca Habegger spoke with some of the founders who are keeping this long-running tradition thriving today.
This year, Sacramento's Dia de los Muertos celebrates 50 years of honoring loved ones who have passed, with a vibrant tradition full of art, culture, and community. For Lupe Portillo, it all started at her grandmother's altar.
Every year for Dia de los Muertos, she would light up some candles for each of her loved ones, and she'd be up all night praying, doing the vigil all night long. I'd watch her every year as she did this throughout my lifetime.
When her grandmother died in 1972, Lupe says she carried on the tradition at Sacramento's Washington Community Council. Just 3 years later, she and fellow community members organized the very first public Dia de los Muertos observation at St. Mary's Cemetery, with a procession from Hiram Johnson High School.
We did a procession up 67th Street to St. Mary's, and we were kind of yelled at, discriminated against, and the people, get out of here, get off our street, what are you doing, and they thought we were doing witchcraft.
What started as a bold and misunderstood event has grown into a 50-year community tradition, celebrated rain or shine each November 2nd. For Lupe's daughter, Lita Sandoval, Dia de los Muertos has always been part of life.
I don't have anything to compare it to without it, and of course now as I get older, I appreciate it more and more. I see the value in it and how that value runs so deep. It's a tie to our ancestors.
Lita says today, more families across Northern California are finding their own connections to the observance.
Every human shares something, which is death. That tends to bring people in because they want to honor those loved ones too. So they come in with, maybe no idea of how to practice Dia de los Muertos, and they realize, oh, it's not that complicated. I can have a photo, a thought, a prayer, a favorite treat, a candle, and a flower, and that's my altar.
This year, the Sacramento History Museum is celebrating the 50th anniversary with a new exhibit highlighting the artists, activists, and families who shaped this long-running tradition. We spoke with organizers as they set up the altar and ofrendas, a decorated space honoring deceased loved ones with photos, food, flowers, and personal mementos. The exhibit is now open to the public.
50 years ago, Dia de los Muertos was not celebrated the way it's so just everywhere now, right? So it was during the Chicano movement of the late 60s, 1970s, that it was specifically two different organizations, one in Los Angeles called Self-Help Graphics, and then Galeria La Raza in San Francisco. They both, in the same year, just coincidentally, decided that they were going to bring Dia de los Muertos to the United States, but not a transplanted ceremony, but more of a community celebration. And we decided that that was something that we wanted to do here.
Tere Romo is a co-founder of the event 50 years ago. She's also the exhibit's curator. It features an altar, plus posters, photos from over the years, and even documentary video from the 1970s, giving visitors a glimpse of how it all began.
What I was hoping for is that someone who comes, even if they don't know anything about Dia de los Muertos, it's really more of an overview of the different aspects of it, and hopefully getting people interested in, I want to go, I want to see, because I've seen these pictures and I'm really interested in finding out more.
At the heart of Sacramento's Dia de los Muertos story is the Royal Chicano Air Force, or RCAF, a collective of artists and activists who linked culture with community change.
I think most people, if they've heard of Royal Chicano Air Force or RCAF, because it's known by both, they think about the artists. And it even also incorporated political figures. So Joe Serna was an RCAF member, and he did a lot of the community organizing, and then he was also very much involved with the United Farm Workers.
Founded at Sacramento State in 1970, the group began as the Rebel Chicano Art Front before adopting the name the Royal Chicano Air Force, after people confused their acronym for the Royal Canadian Air Force. Their murals, posters, and performances became iconic.
They were also one of the key partners for us for Dia de los Muertos.
Bringing together art, indigenous and Catholic traditions, and community health, the RCAF helped create a ceremony that has lasted 5 decades. For Amar Sid, whose father was in the RCAF and who grew up alongside the Portillo family in this tradition, honoring the past and the ceremony's indigenous roots is important.
I hope that, my children, their children, if they choose to have it, all the next generations can really build on what's already been here, right? Remembering the traditions, remembering the whys, remembering to connect to each other.
From one grandmother's candlelit altar to a citywide observance, Sacramento's Dia de los Muertos has become both remembrance and renewal.
We have this treasure right here in Sacramento, cultural treasure that has been nurtured and nourished for 50 years. And I hope that they take a little pride in their city and in this experience, and that they participate too, to come to participate. Never be afraid if it's something that's unknown, don't be afraid. Come, you're a part of it. We all are.
A celebration of memory, resilience, and hope, now 50 years strong and still growing. In Sacramento, Becca Habegger, ABC 10.
The 50th annual Dia de los Muertos observance is happening Sunday, November 2nd. The procession begins at 11 a.m. Again, that's 11 a.m. at Hiram Johnson High School, and it goes to St. Mary's Catholic Cemetery. All are welcome and encouraged to bring photos of loved ones that they want to remember and, of course, honor. To learn more about the celebrations for Dia de los Muertos and other stories that we're highlighting for Hispanic Heritage Month, head to the ABC 10 Plus app. That app is completely free to download to your TV, and we're back after this short break. As always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. I know we cover a lot of different stories here on To The Point. So if you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me and the team at ToThePoint at abc10.com. And of course, you can catch up on any news that you missed on our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. But on that note, I'm going to let you have a good evening. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night.